Namaskar. Welcome you all and 6:30. So we begin with invocation. And today we have two child artists who will present the invocation. Cephalika Anand and Cephalika Anand will sing and Git Gunjan will accompany on tabla.
Nami
of the evening, Professor Lalatendu Manasingh, dear advisor, Engineer Nitay Gurthar, esteemed invitees, friends of Renasa, members of Renasa. There are two occasions when one fails to speak. One is when you have nothing to speak. You don't feel like speaking because you have no content, meaningful content to be communicated. Another is when the feelings become too deep. It defies the categories of language, ambit of language. Today, we are poised in a state where we fail to express how fulfilling it is occasion with the presence of Professor Manasingh. Those who are attending this meeting for more than 1 year must have heard him at least once. Last time during his visit, he gave a talk in this room, which still keeps drilling into our ears, and our friends always cherish his presence in their midst. What is very significant about him is not only the scholarship, depth of scholarship, his deep footage or anchorage in academics, but also the person he is. He's so very unassuming, so very humble, simple. And that is, I think, the hallmark of true scholarship. The more you know what you do not know. So his humility is so infectious and so contagious that one can hardly keep oneself immune to its simplicity that he emanates when you talk to him. Somehow I know something about him, but I could not elicit anything more to introduce him. So whatever little is said, I am simply speaking it out because we are so very subdued and reluctant to say this. He was a postgraduate from, this is something which we all know, that IIT Kharagpur 959, a PhD from University of British Columbia. Then he joins Rice University, Houston, as a postdoc. Then he joins as a faculty University of Western Ontario as a faculty. Then he joins NASA Space Flight Center. After that, he goes back to Western Ontario. He's a director of OMZ Ontario, Maharashtra, Goa Student Exchange Program. The visiting professor of IIT Bhubaneswar. You'll be happy to know that his was one of the 2-3 names which were recommended for Nobel Prize, and he's one of those 2-3 scientists in the world who are consultant for any geophysical disorder, and international scientists in the international domain look for his advice, suggestions, and capitalize on his insights and on his work. Friends, every occasion comes to us as an occasion where we become greatly enriched. But there are some special occasions where we are so enriched that we do not know really the contour of what has been done. And that is what takes place when he talks. Last time he was talking about our universe. And today he is talking on a subject which is about which the intelligentsia across the world are concentrating very deeply. It has sent a shock wave across the religious denominations. You must have heard about the God particle. It has given us the impression perhaps the scientists have found the ultimate reality which the religious people try to monopolize and saying that it is something, say, unique possession of ours. Still, can we say something to be God or a God particle? Can we equate it to the transcendent or God? we are still confused and confounded because many of us do have neither grounding in science nor very much footage in religious experience. So we are just, like lotus eaters, like outsiders, and so we stand, the whole humanity stands confounded. Is it a fact that God, the transcendent reality, can be discovered or encountered in laboratory conditions? Can you call a particle God? You simply give the name God to a particle which is supposed to have, which they must have come across in the course of experiments and certain hypotheses, certain presumptions or assumptions and certain axioms, of course. Now this is something, and he's talking today on dark matter and dark energy, and you know what is matter and energy, but dark matter and dark energy and God particle. It's going to be very revealing for all of us and very stimulating, we suppose, and so we hope that it will not go across our head, and because when he talks, he really talks and becomes so intelligible that we remember it, we cherish to hear it again and again. With these words, I request Professor Lalatendu Manasingh to kindly give his talk.
Thank you. And just to clarify, I was nowhere near the Nobel Prize, but I will speak about two scientists who should have got the Nobel Prize, but haven't. One did not get, and the other hasn't yet, but most likely will. But anyway, and whatever, there is far too much praise. Anyway, I would like to say that no, I'm not as anywhere close to that. What I'd like to start off is the first one, first slide, which is in spite of everything, the whole of science is nothing more than the refinement of everything, everyday thinking. So that's essentially what science is, and that's what all of us scientists do. And the second one is a more or less was the electron discovered or invented, and it is, and as we will see, it is a bit of both. Okay, so those of you who came thinking that I was going to speak on the God particle, I'd like to disillusion it from the beginning that the particle has nothing to do with God. It was invented by a book publisher who wanted to sell more copies of his books for purely profit motive. So it has nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with God. And in fact, most physicists who who hear about the God particle, in fact, swear a little and say it's a goddamn particle because they're simply fed up with the whole idea of one particular physics problem being sort of having the illusion or image of religion in it. So with that, what I'd like to speak a little bit about it, and most of you probably know physics from your school days and your college days. And what you probably do not know, that physics as it stands today is in a state of turmoil. Turmoil in the sense that until about 1970 or so, physics was on a very, very, success ride. That means new revelations are coming out, new problems being solved, our view of the universe was improving, and we were learning, and they were confident that within a very short while, we'll learn about and solve a lot of mysteries that confronts physics and chemistry. And in fact, most physicists worked on what they call a theory of everything. That means one single hypothesis, a theory that will be able to explain most of the known universe. Not only that has not happened at this particular time, we are faced with a problem in which there are now huge unsolved problems and there is no solution in sight, and these things are disturbing to a group of scientists who always consider themselves, physics always considers itself as an exact science and was a good description of the universe and everyday matter as we know it. So now we are faced with a problem that in fact our ignorance is vast. If that in fact is the definition of God and religion, that means that we should view the universe with a little bit of humility. That is probably the only purpose of calling this a God particle. In any case, the God particle is not yet solved. It's just beginning to be solved, and hopefully will detect what is known as the Higgs boson. And with that, let's go on. And these are very interesting types in physics. In fact, more interesting than in the last, say, 40 or 50 years, because things are happening, and more of our ignorance is coming up. And we'll not talk about all of it. I'll just talk hint on two major problems. One is the Higgs boson, and the other is the dark matter. And I'd like to say that the trouble in physics today, or the problems that have been brought forward, is not from the mainstream physics, but mostly from astrophysics. As you will see, the astrophysicist has brought forward. My own specialty is geophysics. So if you ask me too deep a question, I may not be able to answer it. If so, please forgive me. But it's my own ignorance is quite vast, and therefore, before even I start, I can tell you that I don't know. Anyway, there are lots of questions to which I have no answers. I have used very many people I'm grateful to. One is Lee Smolin, and Dr. That is then Matt Strassler, and also I have used generously from things that I avail on the web, because it is very difficult to make a very complex subject easy to understand. So I've tried my best. If I succeed, it will be my reward. If I have failed, please forgive me. So the organization is very simple. I'll talk about one of the triumphs of modern physics is in fact the near success of the detection of the Higgs boson. Then I'll then I'll go on to point out the major problem in physics at the present time, which is the problem of dark matter and dark energy, and which, as you will see, is really a very serious challenge to the science in general and to physics in particular. So this is Satyendranath Bose, from who in 1924, I think he sent a letter to Einstein outlining his ideas, which ultimately led to the Bose-Einstein statistics and to the known particles that they have named in his honor, the bosons. So the bosons and Satyendranath Bose, and there have been number of recent suggestions that Dr. Bose should have been awarded the Nobel Prize, and he has not been. And the Nobel Prize Committee does not award prizes to those who are deceased, and therefore he will not ever get it. But again, he's one more in the list of very prominent Indian scholars who have not been awarded the Nobel Prize, and he's one of them. He should have got one. In any case, in his honor now, others will be getting the Nobel Prize for the detection of the Higgs boson. Sorry. Okay, this is, I just put it in, it's the Bose-Einstein condensate. It was a triumph of physics, or a major achievement a few years back. I just put it again. Is extending the ideas of Satyendranath Bose. Back. Can I go back? Okay. This is the other person who probably will get the Nobel Prize, is Peter Higgs. When he proposed his idea of Higgs fields and Higgs particles, people laughed at him. They would not accept it, but now that he's again become famous, and so most likely he'll get the award. We'll talk about it a little bit, what his idea were. And my own image or perception of the trouble in physics comes from the work of Lee Smolin, who works at the Perimeter Institute, which is about 100 kilometers from where I live. And he has been saying that physics has had no progress, no major progress from about 1970. So he and a whole group of young physicists are getting extremely frustrated, because when they say, what have we achieved so far, The answer is nothing. And so anyway, there are others who disagree with him that in other fields progress is being made. My own field of geophysics, progress is being made, but nothing. But again, our problems are not as deep and as widespread as that of physics. In physics, we try to look at the building blocks of matter, and here cells, then you see DNA, and you go smaller, we come to nucleus, and below the nucleus there are quarks. We'll talk about a lot about those that are smaller than the nucleus, the quarks and other types of particles. Matter is made of small particles, and most common matter is made of particles called atoms, and so thought the Greek philosopher Democritus, who lived about 400 BC in a place called Abdera in Greece, and he coined the term atomos, and he postulated that time that all matter is made of atoms which are indivisible. And of course he was wrong then, because as we know now, and in fact most of our troubles comes because atoms are in fact divisible, but then we cannot explain how they behave. So the first subatomic particle that was smaller than an atom was discovered by J.J. Thomson in 1896, and okay, the next one is, next progress was made in 1911, that's about 100 years back. Rutherford discovered the atom is mostly empty space, that means there is a small nucleus and there is an electron on the periphery. So even that was surpassed very quickly by the Bohr, Niels Bohr from 1913, proposed that electrons travel in circular orbits and that only certain orbits are allowed. And you can see this animation here, but this is a popular picture of an atom.